Welcome back, Outlaws. On today's episode, we're going to be adding a new keyboard, a new mouse, an SSD drive for some extra storage, and a surge protector. So stay tuned.
It's alive! Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
We're going to start off by replacing this old surge protector. We found one when we were shopping at Home Depot. It's not the best out there, but it was $20, and it seems to do what we want. It has both USB A and C ports as well. This should come in really handy for charging phones and other things. Let's get this thing out of the box and check it out a little closer. One of the other features that I liked about this is the outlets were spaced a little wider apart so that it can accommodate a transformer. In case anybody's interested, here's the model number of the exact one that we got. To save you the time of watching me unplug things and plug them back in, I've already done that, and here it is in place. I've plugged in the phone charging cord, have that routed, and we're ready to charge our phones now. Alright, let's get this stuff opened up and check it out.
So we're going to be installing a solid state drive, and this is going to be for more reliable archiving of all the footage and YouTube videos so that we can hang on to these projects and hopefully not lose anything over time, because a solid state drive is going to be a lot more reliable and no moving parts to wear out. And then we went ahead and chose the Razer branded keyboard and mouse. From my experience, these have lasted a real long time, never had any issues. It's pretty high quality. They come with nice braided cables. You never have to worry about the connections wearing out. And the keyboard is also very nice. It has mechanical switches, so it has that classic clicky sound that most keyboards have, as well as double shot injection keycaps. So that means the lettering is never going to wear off because it's a separate layer on each keycap. And all of these are removable and can be swapped out for customs or if you want anything else. There's also different color grading, so you can have different colored effects if you're playing games, or even with editing software you can have different lighting zones for different keybinds. It also includes some dedicated macro keys in case you want to bind any quick shortcuts, and a media scroll wheel, so if you want to do volume or if you're editing, this could be helpful for scrolling through your timeline on editing software. And it should be pretty plug and play, simple as plugging it in with a USB cable, and those will go right in. Same with the SSD, plug it into the power supply, plug it into the motherboard, and it should be ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and get all this stuff installed in our new computer.
Alright, let's get rid of this cordless mouse and keyboard and get her done. I'm not really a big fan of these devices. I'm kind of old school. I like my things hardwired because every time you need them, the batteries are always dead.
It's taped on there real good. Okay, we got our mouse. Pretty simple packaging, and it's got that nice solid rubber connection there. This is one of their more basic mouses they offer, mice. Nice covered USB. Nice buttons, got a couple on the side. It should glide real smooth, and it has that 6400 DPI sensor, so it'll be real nice and accurate.
Alright, looks cool.
Crack open the SSD. Should be just a nice little solid state drive. Real light little drive here. That'll be a couple terabytes. On to the big box. These actually have a nice little peel away. Cut that one. And here we have the keyboard. Similar packaging to the mouse. For the keyboard, we have a really nice braided cable because this is one of their higher level keyboards they offer. And it also has cable management routing on the back here. It's open. So if you have a cable you want to route sideways, if it's easier that way, you can just push it in there. Of course, it's got the little feet, 2 levels of height, nice little grippy pads, and the keys have a nice sound to them. Easy push, travel distance is good. You've got your extra scroll wheel here for a timeline or volume. And these are those macro keys I mentioned. You get 6 of them on the side here. You can program these with the Razer software to be a shortcut, to type something out for you, whatever you'd like to do. It's a nice weight to it. Feels very solid, no flex. It's going to be a nice keyboard. It's going to last a long time.
Alright, let's get the stuff installed, see how it works. So we'll go ahead and get this side off to make it a little easier to get in there so we can mount that SSD.
So here's our 750 watt power supply, and we're going to be plugging in a SATA power from this to the SSD, as well as a SATA data cable from our motherboard. And the port for that is going to be on this side, just beneath the end of the graphics card there. And that'll all be run in to this bay right here, this little shelf where the SSD sits. And from there you'll be able to hot swap it, change it out. If you want to unplug it, leave it for storage, put it back whenever you'd like.
Okay, here's what we're going to be installing it on. We just recently built this, so why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what we got on this thing.
So our case is the Cooler Master Half XB. It's a nice large square case, plenty of room for airflow cooling, lots of ventilation, as well as some some hot swap hard drive bays, so you can always add more storage, swap it out extremely easily. Close the little drawer. We've got a DVD drive right here, and on the inside we've got a EVGA 3070, which is plenty of power. It's the For the Win edition, so it's one of their overclocked cards. And we have a CPU, the AMD Ryzen 7 series 3800X. This is an 8 physical core, 16 thread CPU, paired with 32 gigabytes of RAM in 2 16-stick configuration on a MSI motherboard. And this is plenty of power and then some to do all the editing required for the channel. So we're going to be upgrading this just a little bit more by adding that solid state storage on one of the hot swap bays in the front. And that'll allow us to use this as a storage archive as well as an editing machine for the channel.
of an instrument that would not only supply inverse reactive current for use in unilateral phase detractors, but would also be capable of automatically synchronizing cardinal gram meters.
So this is our power connection, and we're going to be plugging that in. It's a little L-shaped plug, so you just match up that little L, and we plug that in just like that. And then so that's going to be taking power from the power supply to this little circuit board here, and this will then deliver power to the hard drives you have in these two drawers. And what this does is it allows a hot swap capability where you don't have to come in here again to unplug everything. When you slide the drawer in, it plugs the hard drive into this board, and you can unplug it when you slide it out. So we're going to go ahead and do the same for the data cable. It's going to connect to these slots right here, and that'll allow us to hot swap our archive storage drives.
So what are you doing right now?
I'm looking for our SATA power cable that comes off the power supply and it heads over to our other hard drives, because I need to plug it into our hot swap bay here so that it'll start getting powered for our SSD. But I might have to get it from the other side of the case here. So we have our data cable, and it's going to be the same L shape, so there's only one way to plug it in. Like I mentioned before, it's going to go into our circuit here, and then it's routed up through this cable management hole in the top here. You can see it right here, this cable here. And then right underneath the end of the graphics card, you can probably see from above a little bit better. It's going to be plugged into this SATA port right here at the tip of my finger. One of these connections here, it's this one. So that'll be delivering the data from the hard drive to the motherboard so it can communicate with the rest of the computer. And now it's as simple as sliding our little drive into its drawer and it'll be ready to go.
All right, it's time for that.
Okay. So all we have to do is, using these standardized mounting points, we're going to screw this to there, and then once it's on there, when you slide the drawer in, these contacts will plug into that board, and that'll allow it to be connected with just by sliding the drawer in and out. Need to switch that plug around. Simple thumb screw. Alright, so now that we have this all mounted up in its bracket, it's as simple as sliding it in, and then as you latch this door, that plugs the hard drive in, and so now it's connected to that little board right there, which then is connected to the motherboard and power supply respectively, and that will be our hot swap hard drive installed and ready to store things. Power supply out just to make more room for reaching in here to grab cables, but we can slide that back into its place. This is a really nice case. It has a little frame around this power supply, so it's really easy to slide it in like a drawer, and then it's got 4 mounting points with thumb screws on the outside here. I'll have to use this screwdriver to get these tight. It's very helpful because you do have to move this out of the way frequently for adding more things or cable management. Yeah. Let me retry that. Same thing, it's just a couple of thumb screws. All these panels are held on with thumb screws for ease of access when working on things. All the sides of this can come off. It's another reason I chose this case, because it's very easy to work on. Lots of room to reach in and do whatever you need to do. Okay. Alright, after plugging in our two USB connections for the keyboard and mouse, all we have to do is power up our system and see if it all works. Let me flip this switch back here. I think that's what I did. There we go. So now with our system powering on, we can go ahead and install the drivers and software related to controlling the keyboard and mouse and all of its lighting and macro functions. And we can test out and see if the hard drive is connected properly. And once all that's done, I know I can go ahead and put the last few panels back together on the case, because I won't have to go back in there for a while. Put a new mouse and do the same. Run it through the cable management holes. So I'm going to go out with the old and in with the new. Go ahead and
What are some of the cool features about this keyboard here?
So some benefits to owning a mechanical keyboard like this is you can remove all of your keycaps and replace them. You can custom make them. People 3D print these. There's all sorts of places where you can get different keycaps. And as I mentioned before, these are double shot injected. So all of your information on your keys here is a separate layer. So no matter how much you're typing, wearing down on the surface, that will not wear away what your keys are saying. As well as these keys themselves, these mechanical switches, can be individually replaced as well. So in the event that something wears down, you're able to replace just about every single piece of this keyboard individually if you so choose to do so. These are yellow mechanical switches, so they have some mechanical switch sound to them, but they are a bit dampened, and they shouldn't make too much noise. And yeah, besides the lighting and the extra macro keys, it's an all-around solid keyboard. So the software we're going to be using to control the lighting and macro keys is Razer's Synapse software. You can find it on their website. So we're going to go ahead and download that now, and then we'll be able to fully adjust all of our lighting settings. So now that we have the software downloaded, there's plenty of settings you can go in and mess with, including, different lighting effects. These are all the presets here. And you can choose, default colors, everything. There's plenty of options. You can do like fire, for example. And I'll switch that to like a fire effect. So lots of cool little things to dial in with this and play with. So it's a very fun keyboard to have.
Alright, I guess that completes our unboxing and install of our new mouse, our new keyboard, and our new drive. Thanks for watching.